I worked 2 jobs to support his dream. He got famous and pretended he didn't know me. The coffee had gone cold in my hands, but I couldn't stop staring at the screen. There he was, Daniel Rivera, on The Tonight Show, charming the host with that same crooked smile I used to wake up to every morning. The audience laughed at his jokes, hung on his every word, and watched with starry eyes as he talked about his journey to success. "It was tough," he said, leaning back in the guest chair with practiced ease. "I had to sacrifice everything. There were nights I didn't know if I'd make it. But I believed in myself, and I did it all on my own." All on his own. My hand trembled, and the cold coffee sloshed dangerously close to the rim of my mug. I set it down before I could spill it all over my worn-out couch, the same couch we'd found at a thrift store 7 years ago, the one he'd promised we'd replace when he made it big. I guess he'd replaced it. Just not with me. My phone buzzed. Another message from my best friend, Sienna. "Are you watching this? I'm going to kill him." I typed back with numb fingers, "Don't. He's not worth it." But that was a lie. Because if he wasn't worth it, why did it feel like my chest was being crushed? Why did every breath hurt? Why did hearing him erase me from his story feel like dying? Let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here, sitting alone in a cramped apartment, watching the man I sacrificed everything for pretend I never existed. 5 years earlier. I met Daniel at a community theater production in downtown Portland. I was there because my roommate had dragged me along. She was sleeping with one of the stage managers. Daniel was there because he was the lead, a struggling actor doing free shows, hoping to be discovered. He was magnetic. Even in that tiny black box theater with the flickering lights and the musty smell, he commanded attention. When he spoke his lines, everyone leaned forward. When he smiled, the whole room seemed brighter. After the show, we ended up at the same dingy bar down the street. My roommate abandoned me to make out with her stage manager fling, and I found myself at the bar next to Daniel. "You were incredible," I told him, because it was true. He turned those dark eyes on me, and I swear, my heart actually skipped a beat. "You think so?" "I know so. I've seen a lot of theater, and you have something special." That crooked smile. "I'm Daniel." "Emma," I said, shaking his hand. His grip was warm and firm. "Emma Hartley." We talked until the bar closed. Then we walked around the city until sunrise, sharing our dreams and fears and stories. He told me about growing up in a small town in Nevada, the youngest of 4 kids, how he'd always known he was meant for something bigger. How he'd moved to Portland 3 years ago with $200 in his pocket and a dream. I told him about my graphic design aspirations, my student loans, my ordinary life that I was trying to make extraordinary. When the sun came up over the Willamette River, he kissed me. And I fell. God, did I fall hard. The first year. Those early days were magic. We were young and broke and so in love it hurt. Daniel was working as a waiter at an upscale restaurant downtown, going to auditions during the day, doing community theater at night. I was working at a small design firm, barely making enough to cover my half of the rent. We moved in together after 3 months. Too fast, probably, but when you're in love, everything feels right. We found a studio apartment in southeast Portland, tiny, with a bathroom so small you had to step into the shower to close the door, but it was ours. Daniel would practice his monologues while I made dinner. I'd show him my latest design projects, and he'd give me feedback, making me laugh with his over-the-top dramatic interpretations of corporate logos. "This font says, I'm a serious business, but I also know how to party," he'd declare, gesturing wildly at my laptop screen. We were happy. So stupidly, naively happy. But auditions are brutal. For every callback Daniel got, there were 50 rejections. He'd come home deflated, and I'd hold him, tell him it was just a matter of time, that he was too talented to not make it. "You really believe that?" he'd ask, his face buried in my shoulder. "With everything I have, I'd promise." 6 months into our relationship, Daniel got an agent. A real one, not some scammer. Patricia Vance from the Vance Talent Agency saw him in a production of A Streetcar Named Desire and signed him on the spot. We celebrated with cheap champagne and take-out Chinese food, dancing around our tiny apartment, believing this was it, this was the beginning of everything we dreamed of. Patricia started sending Daniel to bigger auditions. Film roles. TV shows. But bigger auditions meant more competition. And more competition meant more rejections. After a year with Patricia, Daniel still hadn't booked anything significant. A commercial for a local car dealership. A one-line role on a TV show that ended up being cut. The worry started to creep in. Maybe I'm not good enough, he said one night, staring at the ceiling of our bedroom. You are, I insisted. You just need time. These things don't happen overnight. It's been 4 years, 4 years of barely scraping by. Maybe I should give up. Get a real job. The desperation in his voice broke my heart. I rolled over, propping myself up on my elbow to look at him. Do you want to give up? He was quiet for a long moment. No. Then don't. We'll figure it out. I believe in you, Daniel. Don't stop believing in yourself. He pulled me close and kissed the top of my head. What did I do to deserve you? You exist, I said simply. That's enough. Things got harder before they got better. Daniel's restaurant cut his hours because he kept having to leave for auditions. Money got tight. Really tight. We were living paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes not even that. I picked up freelance design work on the side. Late nights after my regular job, I'd be hunched over my laptop, designing logos and websites for small businesses, anything to bring in extra cash. Daniel felt guilty. I could see it in the way he'd watch me work, the way he'd apologize for not contributing more. I should get a full-time job, he said one night, watching me edit a website at 2 a.m. This isn't fair to you. If you get a full-time job, when will you go to auditions? I asked, not looking away from my screen. We've come this far. Your breakthrough is coming. I can feel it. But you're exhausted. You're working yourself to death. I finally looked at him. I'm working for us. For our future. When you make it, we'll look back on this and laugh about how broke we were. He knelt beside my chair and took my hand. I'm going to make this up to you. When I make it, and I will make it, because you believe in me, I'm going to give you everything. Everything you've ever wanted. I just want you, I said, meaning it with every fiber of my being. But wanting him and paying rent were two different things. I started looking for a second job. I found it at a trendy bar in the Pearl District. The Violet Hour. They needed a bartender for Friday and Saturday nights. The money was decent, especially with tips. It meant I'd be working 7 days a week, my design job Monday through Friday, freelance work in the evenings, and bartending on weekends, but we needed the money. Daniel protested at first. That's too much. You can't work that much. I can, I said firmly. I'm young. I'm strong. And it's temporary. Just until you book something big. I don't know. I do. Let me do this. Let me help us. So I started bartending. It was exhausting, but I was good at it. I learned to mix drinks quickly, to charm customers for better tips, to smile even when my feet ached and I wanted to collapse. The money helped. We could pay rent on time. We could buy groceries without checking our bank account first. Daniel could afford new headshots, could take unpaid workshop classes with a well-known casting director. And finally, things started to shift. The breakthrough. Daniel was cast in an independent film. It was a small role, but the film was being directed by Jeremy Cross, an up-and-coming director who'd won awards at Sundance. It was exactly the kind of project that could open doors. The film was called Fractured Light, a psychological drama about a family falling apart. Daniel played the oldest son, a character with only 15 minutes of screen time but crucial to the plot. He threw himself into the role. I'd never seen him so focused, so alive. He'd rehearse his scenes constantly, asking me to read the other parts, workshopping every line until it was perfect. The filming took 3 weeks. They couldn't pay much, barely anything, really, but Daniel didn't care. This was his shot. While he was on set, I worked. I picked up extra freelance projects. I took extra shifts at the bar. Our apartment became just a place I slept for a few hours between jobs. Sienna, my best friend, started to worry. "Emma, you look like hell," she said bluntly one afternoon when she stopped by with coffee. "When's the last time you slept more than 4 hours?" "I'm fine," I insisted, though I could feel the dark circles under my eyes. "You're not fine. You're working yourself to death for him." "I'm working for us. For our future." "Your future, or his future?" I bristled at that. "It's the same thing. We're partners." Sienna sighed. "I love you, and I want you to be happy. I hope he appreciates what you're doing for him." "He does," I said. And at the time, I believed it. When filming wrapped, Daniel was euphoric. He'd made connections with the crew, impressed the director, felt like he'd finally proven himself. "Jeremy said I was brilliant," he told me, spinning me around our apartment. "He said I have star quality. He's going to introduce me to his agent." "That's amazing." I was so happy for him, for us. All the exhaustion, all the sacrifice, it was worth it. "I couldn't have done this without you," he said, cupping my face in his hands. "You kept us afloat. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I love you so much, Em. I love you too. And I'm so proud of you." We made love that night with a tenderness that made me cry. This was it. This was our turning point. Everything was about to change. Fractured Light premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival 8 months later. Daniel and I flew there together, his first time at a major film festival. I'd never seen him so nervous or so excited. The film was a hit. Critics loved it. And more importantly, they noticed Daniel. Reviews mentioned his captivating presence and raw emotional honesty. Variety called him a talent to watch. After the premiere, there was a party. Daniel was swarmed by industry people, agents, producers, other actors. I stood to the side, watching him shine. He was in his element, and I was so proud I thought I might burst. But something shifted that night. Something small, almost imperceptible, but there. Daniel was talking to a producer when I walked up with drinks. "Here you go," I said, handing him a glass. He took it with barely a glance at me. "Thanks." Then, turning back to the producer, he continued his conversation. I waited for him to introduce me. He didn't. After a few awkward moments, I drifted away. "It's nothing," I told myself. "He's networking. This is important for his career." But it stung. Later that night, back at our hotel, I mentioned it. "You didn't introduce me to anyone tonight," I said, trying to keep my tone light. Daniel was riding high, pacing the room with excess energy. "What? I didn't? Sorry, babe, I was just so in the zone. You know how important tonight was." "I know. I just felt a little invisible." He stopped pacing and came over to me, pulling me into a hug. "You're not invisible. You're everything. I'm sorry. I'll do better." And I believed him. Because I loved him. Because I wanted to believe him. Jeremy Cross's agent, Howard Kleiner from the prestigious Kleiner Arts Agency in Los Angeles, reached out to Daniel 2 weeks after TIFF. He wanted to represent him. This was huge. Kleiner represented A-list actors. He had connections everywhere. This was the big leagues. There was just one catch: Daniel needed to move to Los Angeles. We talked about it for days. The plan had always been that when Daniel made it, we'd move together. But now that the opportunity was here, things were complicated. "I can't ask you to leave your job," Daniel said. "You've worked so hard at the firm. I can find another job in LA. Graphic designers are everywhere. But you love Portland. Your friends are here. Sienna is here. You're more important," I said simply. He looked at me for a long moment, something unreadable in his eyes. What if I went first? Got established, started booking jobs. Then you could come down, and we'd have more financial security. Warning bells went off in my head, but I ignored them. How long are we talking? 6 months. Maybe a year. Just until I get on my feet. A year apart. After everything we'd been through, everything I'd sacrificed. We'd visit each other, he added quickly, seeing my hesitation. All the time. And we'd talk every day. It's just temporary, Em. Just to make the transition easier. I didn't want to be the girlfriend who held him back. I didn't want to be the reason he didn't chase his dreams. Okay, I heard myself say. If that's what you think is best. The relief on his face should have told me everything I needed to know. But I was too in love to see it. Daniel moved to LA 3 weeks later. We packed up our apartment together, dividing our meager possessions. He took most of his clothes, his acting books, his headshots. I kept the thrift store couch, the second-hand dishes, the life we'd built. "I'll be back before you know it," he promised, kissing me goodbye at the airport. "And we'll talk every single day." For the first month, we did. Daily video calls, constant texting, falling asleep on FaceTime. He told me about his auditions, about LA, about the small apartment he was renting in North Hollywood. "It's nothing like our place," he said, showing me around via his phone camera. "But it's temporary." Everything was temporary. I threw myself back into work. Without Daniel's dreams to finance, I could cut back to just my design job. I even got a promotion, junior art director. More money, more responsibility, more reason to stay in Portland. But I wasn't staying in Portland. This was temporary. I was going to LA. To be with Daniel. To finally start our real life together. By month 2, the daily calls became every other day. Daniel was busy, auditions, meetings, networking events. I understood. This was important. By month 3, we were talking maybe 3 times a week. Text messages became shorter, less frequent. "Sorry, babe, crazy day. Talk tomorrow?" In meetings all day. "Miss you. So tired. Can we skip tonight?" "I promise we'll talk tomorrow." I told myself it was fine. He was working hard. Building his career. Our career. But the distance wasn't just physical anymore. 4 months after moving to LA, Daniel called me, screaming with excitement. "I booked it. I booked it." "Booked what?" My heart was racing. "A series regular on a Netflix show." "A series regular." I screamed too. This was it. This was everything we'd worked for. The show was called The Separation, a drama about a group of friends in their 20s navigating life in New York. Daniel would play Theo, a struggling musician with a complicated past. It was a perfect role for him. "They're ordering 10 episodes for the first season," he said, talking so fast I could barely keep up. "And the showrunner is Diane Marks. She created Riverside, that show that won all the Emmys. This is going to be huge, Em. This is everything." "I'm so proud of you," I said, tears streaming down my face. "You did it. You actually did it." "We did it," he corrected. "None of this would have happened without you. I'm going to fly you down next month when we start production. You can be on set, meet everyone. And then we can start looking for a place together. A real place. Maybe in Silver Lake or Los Feliz. Somewhere with actual space and good light for your design work. Finally, we were moving forward together. I can't wait, I said. But the visit didn't happen. The excuses begin. Babe, I'm so sorry, but we're doing rehearsals next month. It's going to be crazy. What if you come the month after? Then, we're filming on location in New York for 3 weeks. Terrible timing. But when I get back, definitely. Then, the schedule is insane. I'm working 16-hour days. You'd barely see me if you came. Let's wait until we have a hiatus, and I can actually spend time with you. Each excuse made sense in isolation. But together, they formed a pattern I didn't want to see. Sienna saw it, though. Emma, he's been in LA for almost a year. When are you moving down there? Soon, I said. Once his schedule calms down. And when will that be? I don't know. The show is doing really well. They're working him hard. The show was doing well. Really well. The Separation dropped on Netflix and immediately became a hit. Critics loved it. Audiences binged it. And Daniel, my Daniel, was being called a breakout star. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Magazine interviews. Podcasts. Instagram posts from fan accounts. His follower count exploded. He was getting recognized on the street. And our calls became even less frequent. Sorry, did we have a call scheduled? I totally forgot. We just wrapped a 16-hour day. Can't talk tonight, babe. We're having a cast dinner. So exhausted. Can we talk this weekend? I tried to be understanding. I tried to be supportive. This was what we'd wanted. What I'd worked 2 jobs for. What I'd sacrificed for. But I was starting to feel like a footnote in his story instead of a co-author. The premiere of The Separation was in Los Angeles, a huge event with press and celebrities and red carpets. Daniel called me a week before. I want you there, he said. I know I've been terrible about visits, but this is important. I want you by my side when I walk that red carpet. Finally, he was including me. I bought a new dress, a beautiful emerald green cocktail dress that cost more than I wanted to spend but made me feel gorgeous. I got my hair and makeup done. I flew to LA the day before the premiere. Daniel picked me up from the airport. When I saw him, my breath caught. He looked different. His hair was styled differently. He was dressed in expensive clothes, designer jeans and a leather jacket that probably cost a month of my rent. He looked like a celebrity. But when he smiled at me, I saw my Daniel. The guy I fell in love with in that dingy bar in Portland. God, I missed you, he said, pulling me into a hug. I missed you too. We went back to his apartment, which wasn't the small North Hollywood place he'd showed me months ago. This was a sleek 2-bedroom in West Hollywood with floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture. When did you move? I asked, looking around. 2 months ago. Sorry, I meant to tell you. Things have been so crazy. 2 months ago. He'd moved 2 months ago and hadn't mentioned it. It's nice, I said, because it was. It was beautiful. But it didn't feel like us. It felt like someone else's life. That night, we ordered in Thai food and caught up. Really caught up, for the first time in months. He told me about filming, about the cast, about how surreal it was to see his face on billboards. What about you? He asked. What's going on with work? I told him about my promotion, about the major client I'd landed, about my life in Portland. But as I talked, I could see his attention drifting. He checked his phone twice. Sorry, he said, noticing me notice. My publicist keeps texting me about tomorrow. You have a publicist now? Yeah, the show hired one for me. For all the press we're doing. It's a lot to manage. I tried to imagine Daniel with a publicist, someone managing his image and schedule. It felt impossibly far from the guy who used to practice monologues in our tiny studio apartment. The premiere was at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. As our car pulled up, I saw the massive crowd, photographers, fans screaming, a red carpet that stretched forever. "Holy shit," I whispered. Daniel squeezed my hand. "Crazy, right? You ready? To walk the red carpet with you?" "Absolutely." But as we got out of the car, a woman in a headset immediately approached Daniel. His publicist, Jenna. "Daniel. You look amazing." "Okay, so we've got news first, then variety, then," she stopped, noticing me for the first time. "Oh. Who's this?" "This is Emma," Daniel said. "My girlfriend." The way he said it, hesitant, almost apologetic, made my stomach drop. Jenna's smile was professional but cool. "Oh. Daniel, we talked about this. The narrative tonight is young, single heartthrob. The fans." "It's fine," Daniel interrupted. "Em will walk with me." "Actually," Jenna said, her tone leaving no room for argument, "it would be better if she went straight inside. The red carpet is for cast and major press. We don't want to confuse the narrative." I felt like I'd been slapped. "I can just." "She's walking with me," Daniel said firmly. Jenna and Daniel stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Jenna sighed. "Fine. But no couple photos. Keep it professional." What followed was the most humiliating experience of my life. Daniel walked the red carpet, and I trailed behind him like an assistant. Photographers shouted his name. He posed, smiled, gave them what they wanted. And I stood off to the side, invisible. When reporters wanted to interview him, I moved away entirely, watching from the sidelines as he charmed them with practiced ease. "What's next for you?" a reporter asked. "Just taking it one day at a time," Daniel said with that crooked smile. "Grateful for all of it. No mention of me. No mention of how he got here." Inside the theater, we sat separately, Daniel with the cast, me in a seat several rows back. I watched the show on the big screen, watched my boyfriend, the man I'd worked 2 jobs to support, become a star. And I'd never felt more alone. The after party was at a trendy club in West Hollywood. By the time we arrived, Daniel had been pulled in a dozen directions by people wanting to congratulate him, network with him, be near his rising star. I got drinks at the bar and tried to look like I belonged. I didn't. Everyone here was beautiful, connected, important. I was just a graphic designer from Portland in an overpriced dress. "Emma." I turned to see one of Daniel's co-stars, Lily Zhang, who played his on-screen best friend. She was stunning in person, tiny and elegant in a red dress. "I'm so glad to finally meet you," she said, pulling me into a hug like we were old friends. "Daniel talks about you all the time." "He does?" I couldn't hide my surprise. "Of course. He says you're the reason he's here. That you supported his dream when no one else believed in him." The words should have made me happy. Instead, they made me want to cry. Because if that was true, why did I feel so excluded from his life? Lily and I chatted for a while. She was kind, genuine, asking about my work and life in Portland. But then someone pulled her away for photos, and I was alone again. I found Daniel on the outdoor patio, surrounded by a group of industry people. He was holding court, telling a story that had everyone laughing. I walked up, standing at the edge of the group. He saw me. Our eyes met. And he looked away. He didn't acknowledge me. Didn't introduce me. Didn't make space for me in the circle. I stood there for 5 excruciating minutes, invisible, before I walked away. I found a quiet corner and pulled out my phone to text Sienna. "I don't think I know him anymore." She responded immediately, "Come home." I found Daniel an hour later. He was drunk, not sloppy, but loose and happy in a way I rarely saw anymore. "There you are," he said, pulling me close. "Where'd you go?" I'd been here. You didn't notice. He didn't catch the bitterness in my tone, or he ignored it. Isn't this amazing? This whole night? A year ago, I was waiting tables. Now look at this. Yeah, I said quietly. Look at this. The morning after. I woke up in Daniel's bed, in his expensive apartment, feeling emptier than ever. He was still asleep, mouth open, hair messy. In sleep, he looked like my Daniel again. Young and vulnerable and mine. But when he woke up, he'd be someone else. Someone I wasn't sure I knew anymore. I got up quietly and went to the kitchen. Made coffee. Stared out at the Los Angeles skyline. This should have been our dream. We should have been celebrating together. Instead, I felt like a stranger in his new life. Daniel emerged an hour later, groggy and hungover. Morning, he mumbled, kissing my cheek. Coffee smells good. I poured him a cup. We sat at his modern kitchen island, so different from our tiny thrift store table in Portland. We need to talk, I said. He winced. Those are the 4 worst words in the English language. Daniel, I'm serious. He set down his coffee mug, giving me his attention. Okay. What's wrong? Last night. I felt invisible. You barely acknowledged me. Your publicist didn't want me on the red carpet. You didn't introduce me to anyone at the party. I felt like I didn't belong in your life. That's not true. It is true. And it's not just last night. You've been distant for months. We barely talk anymore. You keep postponing me moving here. It feels like you're pulling away. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. I'm not pulling away. I've just been busy. You know how important this is for my career. I do know. I've always known. I worked 2 jobs so you could pursue this, remember? I'm not asking you to choose between me and your career. I'm asking you to include me in your life. You are included. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like you're building this new life and there's no room for me in it. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. What do you want me to do? I want you to want me here. I want us to make a plan for me to move to LA. I want to feel like I'm your partner, not an obligation. You're not an obligation. Then what am I? The question hung in the air between us. Daniel looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that terrified me. Guilt. Uncertainty. Distance. You're everything, Em. You're the person who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You're my foundation. But, I don't know. Things are happening so fast. The show is getting renewed for a 2nd season. My agent is sending me out for movie roles. There's talk of me going to New York for a play. Everything is changing, and I'm trying to keep up. And I'd just be in the way. No. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying, Daniel? He looked lost. The confident actor from last night was gone, replaced by the uncertain boy I'd met in Portland. But I couldn't comfort him this time. I needed answers. I don't know, he finally said. I don't know what I'm saying. I just need time. To figure things out. Time. He'd already had a year. How much time? I don't know. I stood up. I'm going back to Portland. Don't. I can't do this, Daniel. I can't wait indefinitely for you to decide if there's room for me in your new life. I love you. I've always loved you. But I can't keep sacrificing myself for a future that might never happen. It will happen. When? When will it happen? Give me a date. Give me something concrete. He couldn't. We both knew he couldn't. I went to the bedroom and packed my bag. Daniel followed me, pleading, promising to do better, to make more time, to figure things out. But they were empty words, and we both knew it. At the door, I turned to him one last time. "I don't regret supporting your dream," I said. "I just wish your dream had included me." I left before he could respond. Before I could see if he'd fight for me or let me go. He let me go. 6 months later. Life moved on, the way it always does. I threw myself into work. Got another promotion. Started dating someone new, Connor, a software engineer who was kind and stable and present. He wasn't Daniel. But maybe that was a good thing. I didn't talk to Daniel. He texted a few times in the weeks after I left. "Can we talk? I miss you. Please don't give up on us." But I didn't respond. What was there to say? I'd said everything I needed to say. According to social media, his career was exploding. The separation had been renewed for a 3rd season. He'd booked a role in a major action movie. He was on magazine covers. Dating rumors swirled, mostly about him and Lily Zhang, his co-star. "Are you okay?" Sienna asked one night over wine, after I'd scrolled past yet another article about Daniel. "I'm fine," I said. And mostly, I meant it. The sharp pain had dulled to a steady ache. I could breathe again. "He doesn't deserve you," Sienna said loyally. "Maybe not. But I don't regret it, you know? Loving him. Supporting him. I just wish it had been enough." "You were enough. He's the one who wasn't." Maybe she was right. I'd moved on. Really moved on. Connor and I had been together for 8 months. It wasn't passionate or earth-shattering, but it was healthy. He showed up. He communicated. He made me a priority. My career was thriving. I'd been promoted to senior art director. I was managing a team, working on major campaigns, making real money. Life was good. Different than I'd planned, but good. And then I saw the announcement. Daniel was coming to Portland. Not for a visit, for a red carpet premiere. His action movie, Collision Point, was having a special screening at the Portland Film Festival. "You're not going, right?" Sienna asked when she saw the news. Of course not. But I was curious. I couldn't help it. 2 years ago, this had been our dream. Now it was his reality, and I was just someone from his past. I didn't plan to go. I really didn't. But Connor had a business trip that weekend. And Sienna convinced me that getting closure might be good for me. And some masochistic part of me wanted to see him. To see if I felt anything. So I went. The premiere was at the Schnitzer Concert Hall in downtown Portland. I wore a simple black dress, did my makeup carefully, and told myself I looked good. Not as glamorous as the LA crowd would be, but good enough. The theater was packed. I found a seat in the back, anonymous in the crowd. The movie was actually good, a smart thriller with Daniel in a supporting role as the protagonist's best friend. He was excellent. Charismatic and natural and everything I'd always known he could be. When his scenes came on screen, I felt pride. And sadness. And something like grief for the future we'd lost. After the screening, there was a Q&A with Daniel and the director. Daniel looked incredible in a tailored navy suit, his hair perfectly styled. He talked about the film, about working with the director, about his journey as an actor. It wasn't easy, he told the audience. There were years of struggle, of barely getting by, of not knowing if I'd make it. But I kept believing, and eventually, it paid off. He kept believing. No mention of who believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. But that was fine. I didn't need credit. I just needed closure. After the Q&A, there was a reception in the lobby. I should have left. I should have gone home, told Sienna. I went and felt nothing, moved on with my life. Instead, I stayed. I got a drink from the bar and stood at the edge of the crowd, watching Daniel work the room. He was good at this now, the schmoozing, the networking, the charm. He'd grown into his fame. And then he saw me. Our eyes met across the crowded lobby. For a moment, everything stopped. I saw recognition flash across his face. Surprise. Something else I couldn't read. He started walking toward me, and my heart raced. What would I say? What would he say? But before he reached me, a woman intercepted him, his publicist or an executive or someone important. They pulled him aside, talking urgently about something. He glanced at me, held up a finger in a 1-minute gesture. I waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. He was still talking to them, occasionally glancing my way. A man approached me, one of the festival organizers. Are you Emma Hartley? Surprised, I nodded. Yes? Daniel Rivera wanted me to give you this. He handed me a business card with a phone number written on the back in Daniel's handwriting. He said to call him. That he'd really like to catch up. He couldn't even come over himself. He'd sent someone with a phone number. Like I was a fan. Like I was nobody. Thanks, I said, taking the card. I looked across the room. Daniel was watching me now, smiling, giving me a little wave. And something inside me broke. Not my heart, that had already broken and healed. Something else. The last thread of hope that maybe he'd changed. That maybe he'd realized what he'd lost. But he hadn't. I was still an inconvenience. Someone from his past that didn't fit his present. I smiled back. Waved. And walked out of the theater. I threw his business card in the trash on my way out. Which brings me back to here. To my couch, watching Daniel on The Tonight Show, erasing me from his story. My phone buzzed again. Sienna, relentless, I'm coming over. I'm fine, I texted back. Really? Bullshit. I'm bringing ice cream and wine. 20 minutes later, she was at my door with supplies and righteous anger. He's a piece of shit, she announced, pouring us both generous glasses of wine. Yep. You should go public. Tell your story. Let people know the truth. What would that accomplish? Justice. Recognition. Making him suffer a little. I considered it. I could go public. Sell my story to a tabloid or post about it on social media. There were probably people who would care, who would be outraged on my behalf. But what would that make me? The bitter ex? The woman who couldn't move on? I don't want revenge, I said. I just want peace. Sienna softened, sitting beside me on the couch. You deserve better than peace. You deserve acknowledgement. You sacrificed so much for him. I know. But I didn't sacrifice for acknowledgement. I did it because I loved him. Because I believed in him. That's not nothing, even if he's forgotten it. You're way more mature than me. Trust me, I have moments where I want to burn down his career. I could make that happen. I know people. I laughed, actually laughed. I'll keep that in mind. We finished the bottle of wine and started on the ice cream. We talked about Connor, about work, about everything except Daniel. But later, after Sienna left, I found myself looking at my phone. At Instagram, where Daniel had millions of followers. His latest post was a professional photo from The Tonight Show, with a caption about gratitude and hard work. The comments were full of adoration. Fans telling him how inspiring he was, how they believed in their dreams because of him. If only they knew. But they didn't need to know. His image, his brand, his story, they were carefully curated, managed by publicists and agents. The real story was messier. Less inspiring. Less marketable. I started typing a comment. Then deleted it. Started again. Deleted again. What would I even say? Hey, remember me? The person who worked 2 jobs so you could chase your dreams? No? Cool, cool. I put my phone down. 3 days later, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line, "Please read this." I almost deleted it. Probably spam or a weird sales pitch. But something made me open it. "Emma, I know I have no right to reach out to you. I know I don't deserve your time or attention. But I need to say this, even if you never respond. I saw you at the Portland premiere. I tried to get to you, but I got pulled away, and by the time I was free, you were gone. I wanted to talk to you. To really talk, not just hand you my number like you were some fan. I've thought about you every day since you left. I've wanted to reach out 1,000 times, but I didn't know what to say. How do you apologize for becoming someone you never wanted to be? You were right about everything." I pulled away. I made excuses. I let my career become more important than the person who made my career possible. I let the industry change me, and by the time I realized it, you were gone. I watched that Tonight Show interview yesterday. I know how it sounded, like I did everything alone, like I'm some self-made success story. But you and I both know the truth. I'm here because you believed in me. Because you worked yourself to exhaustion for me. Because you gave me everything and asked for nothing. I see articles calling me inspiring, and I feel like a fraud. Because the most inspiring person I know is you. You're the one who sacrificed. You're the one who stayed true to yourself. You're the one with integrity. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know that I know. I know what you did for me. I know what I lost when I lost you. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who deserves you, who makes you a priority, who doesn't take you for granted. You deserve everything good in the world. I'm sorry I couldn't be the person you needed me to be. Always. Daniel. I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and went to bed. For a week, the email sat unanswered. Part of me wanted to respond. To tell him I forgave him. Or to tell him to go to hell. Or to ask what he expected from me now. But mostly, I felt tired. Tired of being defined by my relationship with Daniel Rivera. Tired of my worth being tied to his success or failure to acknowledge me. I talked to my therapist about it. Yes, I'd started therapy after the breakup, something I should have done years ago. "What do you want?" Dr. Patricia asked me. "I don't know." "Yes, you do." I was quiet for a long time. Then, "I want to stop caring. I want his acknowledgement or lack of acknowledgement to not matter. I want to move on completely." "So what's stopping you?" I think part of me is still waiting for him to publicly acknowledge what I did. To set the record straight. To make me visible again. Why do you need him to make you visible? You're already visible. You have a successful career. People who love you. A life you've built for yourself. Your worth doesn't come from his acknowledgement. She was right. Intellectually, I knew she was right. But emotionally, I was still the girl who'd worked 2 jobs in the shadows, who'd been erased from his story. What would it look like to make yourself visible? Dr. Patricia asked. That question stayed with me. Making myself visible. I started small. I updated my LinkedIn profile, highlighting all my accomplishments. The campaigns I'd led. The team I'd built. The success I'd earned through my own hard work. I posted more on my own social media. Not about Daniel, about my work, my life, my interests. I shared design projects I was proud of. Photos with Sienna and other friends. My trip to Japan that I'd taken solo last year. I was a person. A full, complete person. Not just someone's ex. Not just a supporting character in someone else's story. And slowly, something shifted. Companies started reaching out, big companies, asking if I'd be interested in working with them. Design blogs featured my work. I was invited to speak on a panel about women in design. I was building my own narrative. My own success story. Connor and I broke up, amicably, mutually. He was a good guy, but we both knew we were settling. We wanted different things. We deserved more. I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I had friends. Work I loved. A life that felt full. And then, 2 months after Daniel's email, I decided to respond. My response. Daniel. I got your email. I've thought a lot about what to say, and I've decided to keep it simple. I forgive you. Not because you deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve peace. Carrying anger and resentment was exhausting. I'm done being exhausted. You're right, I did sacrifice for you. I did work myself to the bone. I did believe in you when you couldn't believe in yourself. And you're also right that you took me for granted, pushed me away, and erased me from your story. But here's what I've realized, I don't need you to tell my story. I can tell it myself. I'm proud of what I did. Not because it led to your success, but because it showed me who I am. I'm someone who loves deeply, who works hard, who believes in people. Those are good qualities, even if you didn't appreciate them. I hope you've learned from this. I hope you treat your next relationship better. I hope you become the person who deserves the success you've achieved. As for me, I'm good. Really good. I have a career I'm proud of, people who love me, and a life that's mine. I'm not waiting for you or anyone else to make me visible. I'm already visible to the people who matter. I don't know if we'll ever talk again. Maybe it's better if we don't. But I wanted you to know that I'm okay. Better than okay. I hope you find what you're looking for. I think I already found what I was looking for, myself. Take care. Emma. I hit send before I could second guess myself. Then I closed my laptop, called Sienna, and we went out for sushi. We laughed, drank sake, made plans for a trip to Mexico. I didn't check my email for 3 days. When I finally did, there was no response from Daniel. And that was okay. 6 months later. Life has a funny way of coming full circle. I was at a design conference in Los Angeles, speaking on a panel about creative leadership, actually, when I ran into Lily Zhang in the hotel lobby. Emma, she said, her face lighting up. Oh my God, I was hoping I'd run into you. You were? I was genuinely surprised. Yes. I read about you speaking at this conference. Your work is incredible. I've been following you on Instagram. We got coffee, and she told me she was thinking about launching a lifestyle brand and was looking for a design team. Was I interested in consulting? It was a huge opportunity. The kind that could take my career to the next level. I'd love to, I said. But I have to ask, won't this be weird? With Daniel? Lily gave me a long look. Can I be honest with you? Please. Daniel talks about you. A lot. About how much he messed up. How you were the best thing that ever happened to him. It's actually kind of annoying because I've told him 1,000 times that dwelling on it doesn't change anything. Are you too? God, no. We're friends. The dating rumors are just PR bullshit. But I've gotten to know him pretty well, and he's talented, but he's kind of a mess when it comes to relationships. He's in therapy now, which is good. Trying to figure out why he self-sabotages. That should have made me feel vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. Sad for both of us, for what we could have been. Anyway, Lily continued, I don't want his issues to stop us from working together. Your work speaks for itself. And honestly, it might do him good to see you succeeding without him. I laughed. You know what? Let's do it. We shook hands, and just like that, I had a new client and a new challenge. The project was incredible. Lily's brand was about authenticity and empowerment, values I could get behind. My team and I created a visual identity that was bold and modern and completely different from anything else in the lifestyle space. The launch was huge. Press everywhere. and because I'd led the design, my name was attached to it. Articles about the brand mentioned me. Design publications interviewed me. I was becoming known in my own right. One of those articles ended up in a major business magazine. The headline, Emma Hartley, the designer behind the year's hottest brand. The article talked about my career, my philosophy, my journey. And because the journalist had done their research, it mentioned, in passing, that I used to date Daniel Rivera. Just a footnote. A single sentence. Not the story, just context. I'd become the main character in my own narrative. 3 months after the article came out, I got a message on Instagram. From Daniel. I saw the article. I'm so proud of you. You're amazing. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, thank you. Simple. Polite. Boundaried. He responded, any chance you'd be willing to get coffee? I'm in Portland next week for a charity thing. No expectations. I'd really like to see you. I thought about it. Talked to Dr. Patricia about it. Talked to Sienna about it. What do you want to do? Sienna asked. I think I want to see him. Not because I want him back. Not because I need anything from him. But because I want to see who he is now. And I want him to see who I am now. Very mature of you. I'm growing. I grinned. So I agreed to coffee. We met at a quiet cafe in Northwest Portland, neutral territory. When I walked in, Daniel was already there, sitting at a corner table. He stood when he saw me, and for a moment, we just looked at each other. He looked older. Still handsome, but there were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. He looked tired. Emma. Thank you for meeting me. Of course. We ordered coffee and sat down. The silence was awkward at first. You look great, he said. Really great. Happy. I am happy. I'm glad. You deserve it. More silence. Then Daniel took a deep breath. I wanted to see you because I owe you a real apology. Face to face. No emails, no messages. I need to say this to you directly. Okay. I was wrong. About everything. I took you for granted. I let my career become more important than the person who made my career possible. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt you. And I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. I watched him, measuring his sincerity. He seemed genuine. But I'd learned not to trust appearances. I appreciate that, I said carefully. I don't expect you to forgive me. I already forgave you. I told you that in my email. I know, but I guess I needed to hear you say it to my face. I forgive you, Daniel. Not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger was hurting me more than it was hurting you. He nodded, blinking rapidly. You're incredible. You know that? You always were. I'm learning to see it, I said honestly. We talked for over an hour. Really talked, in a way we hadn't in years. He told me about therapy, about confronting his patterns, about learning that his worth wasn't tied to his fame. I told him about my work, about finding myself again, about building a life I was proud of. It was healing, in a way I hadn't expected. As we were getting ready to leave, Daniel said, I know this is asking a lot, but could we be friends? I don't have many people in my life who knew me before all this. Who see me as more than the celebrity. I thought about it. Maybe someday. But not yet. I need more time. I understand. Thank you for even considering it. We hugged goodbye, a real hug, warm but boundaried. I really am proud of you, Em. What you've built for yourself. Thanks. I'm proud of you too. The work you're doing on yourself. We parted ways. And as I walked to my car, I felt light. Free. I'd gotten closure. Real closure. 1 year later. I'm in New York for a design conference when I see it. A news alert on my phone. Daniel Rivera opens up about past relationship, she made me who I am. My heart skips, and I click the link. It's an interview from a podcast, one of those long-form, deep-dive conversations. Daniel is talking about his journey, his struggles, his growth. And he's talking about me. I had a partner in the early days, he says. Someone who believed in me before anyone else did. She worked 2 jobs so I could go to auditions. She sacrificed her own dreams to support mine. And when I started to succeed, I pushed her away. I was ashamed of where I came from, ashamed of how hard things had been. And I erased her from my story because I wanted to believe I'd done it all on my own. The interviewer asks, "Do you regret that?" Every day. She was the best person I've ever known, and I treated her like she was disposable. I've worked hard to become someone who would never do that again. But I can't undo the hurt I caused. Are you still in contact? Occasionally. We're working toward friendship, slowly. She's been incredibly gracious, more than I deserve. She's built this amazing career, she's one of the top designers in her field now. I follow her work, and I'm in awe of her. What would you say to her if she's listening? There's a long pause. Then, I'd say thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for your sacrifice. And I'm sorry it took me so long to publicly acknowledge it. You deserved better. You deserved everything. And I hope you know that your worth was never dependent on whether I saw it. You were always enough. More than enough. I'm crying. Not sad tears, something more complicated. Relief, maybe. Validation. Closure. My phone rings. Sienna. Did you hear it? Just listened. And it's what I needed to hear. Not because I needed his validation. But because it feels good to have the record set straight. You're not going to get back together, are you? Sienna asks suspiciously. I laugh. God, no. That chapter is closed. But maybe we can be friends eventually. Maybe. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. I am happy. Really, truly happy. And I mean it. Because here's what I've learned, I didn't work 2 jobs and sacrifice my dreams for nothing. I did it for love, and there's no shame in that. What would have been shameful is staying small, staying invisible, staying defined by someone else's story. I took my pain and I transformed it. I built a career I'm proud of. I learned my worth. I found my voice. Daniel's success isn't my success. But my success is mine. Every bit of it. And that's enough. Actually, it's more than enough. It's everything. The end. Author's note, sometimes the biggest betrayal isn't being left. It's being erased. But you can't be erased if you refuse to disappear. If you're reading this and you've been someone's support system, someone's foundation, someone's invisible labor, know this, your worth isn't determined by whether they acknowledge you. You know what you did. You know who you are. And that's enough. Write your own story. Make yourself visible. You deserve to be the main character in your own life. Thank you for reading.